Repeat it, or? Okay.
Sure. The question was on a rather specific piece of policy. Do you support a pan-Canadian accord or act on post-secondary education at the federal level and a dedicated federal transparent transfer for education funding to the provinces? And what would you do personally to make sure, if you support those policies, that they happen?
Okay, starting with Catherine Meade.
A pan-Canadian accord, actually, as you described it, makes sense. I don't know, I mean, we'd have to see how the specifics all worked, but the notion of trying to get some way of having the provinces and the federal government work more in concert, that makes sense to me as it comes to funding post-secondary education. That makes sense to me. In terms of having a more transparent way of having the dedicated transfer funds, well, I'm all for more transparency in government anyway, so I'm very much supportive of that. And certainly in terms of what would I do personally, on hearing more about how a pan-Canadian education accord would work, if really when I heard more about it, it made sense, listen, as I said, 3 degrees later, I'd be more than happy to personally be involved in making that happen.
Okay. And just before we move on, Darryl, and ask this of all the candidates, would it be less disruptive if I just said 10 while you were speaking, to give you the 10-second cue, because some of you were looking down and not really looking at me, and I'm trying to read the signs from off stage. Would that be fine if I just said 10? You know what that means? Okay. Thank you. Darryl, Whetter.
Okay, so in the Halifax ride in 2006, just shy of 50,000 votes were cast, and there are about 33,000 students in the HRM. You are the balance of power. But we have governments which don't serve students. They regard them as transient voters. So the specific question about a pan-Canadian data set about how we spend our education dollars is crucial. In 2007, Canada ranked last out of 40 OECD countries who were asked to contribute data on how we spend education. The simple fact is, Canada spends roughly $37 billion a year educating post-secondary students, and we have very little idea where the money goes. We hemorrhage money. We waste money in education just like we waste money on healthcare. It's not that we don't spend money, we don't spend our money effectively. So absolutely, I will support contribution to a pan-Canadian data set on education, and I'll growl the bone. I was a student for 10 years, I'll bark and I'll fight loud.